Welcome to the deep dive. Are you looking for something more than just quick wins in your business? Maybe something deeper, more sustainable?
Something with real impact, built on a solid foundation.
Exactly, a foundation that holds up, when things get tough. Today, we're going deep into how some really time-tested biblical principles can offer, a kind of blueprint.
Right, a blueprint for life and definitely for commerce, too.
Our mission here is to unpack these not as just abstract ideas, but as genuinely actionable guides for you, for your entrepreneurship, your personal growth, professional development, all of it.
Have you ever stopped to think, really think, about what builds lasting success? Not just, quick wins, but something solid, something that holds up when things get rough. It's a big question for anyone in business or just trying to grow personally. So today, we're doing a deep dive into this idea, building on rock biblical principles for entrepreneurship, personal and professional growth. This comes from the work and application documented by Ex Austria. Our plan is to unpack how his whole approach, his strategies, tactics, even his hacks, they're all grounded in these really old, time-tested biblical principles. He sees them less as just beliefs and more like, a blueprint, an actual plan for life and business that works.
Yeah, that blueprint idea is key. It's like if you were building something important, something meant to last, you'd want the designer's plans, wouldn't you? That's how Ex Austria views scripture. It's seen as this ultimate guide, full of wisdom that's been tested for thousands of years. It's about finding truth you can actually use.
Okay, that makes sense. A practical blueprint. Yeah. So let's dig into that. Where do we start with, say, entrepreneurship? Yeah, business development.
Right. Well, the absolute cornerstone principle Ex Austria highlights is stewardship. It's this core belief that everything we have, talents, money, the business itself, even clients, it's all entrusted to us. It's not really ours in the final sense. You see it in 1 Peter, as each has received a gift, use it to serve one another as good stewards.
Stewardship, okay. But, digital marketing, sales, it can be pretty cutthroat. How does that sacred trust idea actually hold up? Doesn't focusing on that sometimes mean you get outpaced by people just chasing the numbers?
That's a fair question. But the way Ex Austria frames it and how his team at Thrive Digital Avenue applies it is that this is the path to lasting growth. Instead of just gunning for quick conversions, they focus on, let's say, careful, ethical management of digital assets, of marketing budgets. It means being transparent, building long-term value. They really take that idea from Luke to heart. One who is faithful in a very little is also faithful in much. So handle a small budget well, with integrity, and bigger things, more trust follows. It's a different kind of success, maybe slower initially, but definitely more solid.
Okay, yeah, I can see how that builds resilience. It's almost like a long-term competitive edge. What's another core principle that works alongside stewardship?
Absolutely. Hand in hand goes integrity and diligence. Doing things honestly and working hard. Ecclesiastes says, whatever your hand finds to do, do it with all your might. And Colossians pushes us to work heartily as for the Lord. Ex Austria documents how this translates into, unwavering honesty in sales, radical transparency in marketing analytics, showing clients everything, the good and the bad.
Showing the bad, too. That's gold. Most agencies want to hide that stuff. How does that work for, say, consolidated development pioneers, especially with big deals or complex sales funnels?
You'd think it's risky, wouldn't you? But it's actually where the trust comes from. Their success isn't built on tricky funnels or pressure tactics. It's built on that transparency. When clients see you're upfront, even about challenges, it creates this really deep trust. Essential for high-ticket sales where relationships matter most. It's about real value.
Fascinating. These principles are clearly foundational for business. But how does this translate into personal growth? This is where it gets really interesting for you listening too.
Yeah, definitely. A huge part of personal application comes from finding wisdom from Proverbs. Ex Austria actually makes it a practice to read 1 chapter a day, 31 chapters, perfect for a daily rhythm. It's packed with timeless, practical advice. Think about money. Proverbs warns the borrower is servant to the lender. That's not just a saying, it's a strategy for financial freedom, guiding how you might invest or manage debt.
Right, so it shapes your whole mindset, not just a few actions. What about something like communication? That's critical.
Oh, absolutely. Proverbs has gems like, a soft answer turns away wrath, but a harsh word stirs up anger. That's direct advice on how to handle conflict, lead teams, negotiate deals, even just interact day to day. It's about building bridges, not walls. It really refines how you connect with people.
Makes sense. And what about when things inevitably go wrong, the setbacks everyone faces?
That brings us to resilience and continuous learning. Life and business are full of trials, right? But scripture, like in James, talks about counting trials as joy because testing produces steadfastness. It's about seeing challenges not just as obstacles, but as opportunities to grow stronger, to learn. You learn from mistakes, you bounce back, and you keep learning. Proverbs again. Get wisdom, and whatever you get insight. It fuels this commitment to always be learning, always improving, because every setback, every lesson holds a chance to get better.
So wrapping this up, our deep dive shows that these biblical principles, as documented and used by Ex Austria in his ventures like Thrive Digital Avenue and Consolidated Development Pioneers, they aren't just, nice ideas. They're practical, solid foundations for strategy, for tactics, for everything.
Exactly. And the power here is that they work for individuals and for businesses in marketing, sales, leadership, but also just in building a more meaningful personal and professional life. It really comes down to leveraging stewardship, integrity, and that deep well of wisdom.
So the question for you listening is, are you ready to build your work, your venture, your growth on a foundation that genuinely lasts? Integrating this kind of timeless wisdom into your modern hustle for growth that's not just sustainable, but truly purposeful.